Hey, Justin. I was telling my wife Michelle this evening about your office and what good feng shui it has, and so she approves.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want to go too overboard with it. I'm trying to definitely set a vibe in there.
Well, I told her today I wanted to hang some pictures in, our kind of study office, and she goes, "No, we're keeping it very simple."
Hey,
that's clutter, Gary.
You guys are.
Justin is feng shui, and I'm lived in my office.
Yeah, when I was working, mine looked like a tornado hit. I mean, there was stuff everywhere, but I knew where it was.
I am slowly weeding out paper plans.
You guys are live.
I have a set of flat plan files left in the corner of my office that I'm contemplating getting rid of.
It can take up a lot of space.
So is everything electronic now, Les? Have you had everything digitized?
Pretty much. We're doing plan reviews digitally using a product called Bluebeam, where you can mark plans up and have a whole gallery of people working, and everybody's comments go on to the same document. It keeps a running tally of everyone's comments. It's pretty cool.
Well, how about past files and plans and stuff? Are you digitizing those, or are you going to keep them paper?
We are. What do you think, Justin? Are we 90% yet on digitizing every piece of paper we have in the
Yeah, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Just about done. Maybe a month left. Right now, our whole inventory is kind of cleared out, but it should be wrapping up pretty soon.
And Justin, if you're keeping Alex from joining just to give you a better shot to win the over-under, I'm going to claim a technicality on this deal, buddy.
Not that petty, I swear.
Plenty of game.
We're waiting on Kirsten Barnes at the moment.
Oh, okay.
She just sent me a message that she's trying to get on. So
great.
Working with her to try to get her on.
I'm like emailing her frantically.
So did I, and called her. So
I couldn't get my agenda notes app to work tonight, so
Here. That's right. I don't this well and do it quickly and wrap it up. So thank you, everyone, for taking time this evening. I'll call to order the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for Thursday, January 28th, 2021. We'll begin with a roll call. I'm Eric Peterson.
Gary Israel.
Marla Canfield. Kirsten Barnes.
Thank you.
Mr.
We
Vice
have
Chairperson. Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt, but just
You're fine, please.
in addition to the staff that you see currently in the meeting, I do want to let you guys know that your city administrator, Jennifer McCausland, is on the meeting. If you should have any questions that you would like to address to her, she is following along.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lance, and glad that she's with us this evening as well. We have one item, an important one, but only one item. So the agenda item 3.1 is the Andover Redevelopment District 2019 project plans. Les, I'll hand it to you to do a brief introduction, or other staff, whatever you say.
Sure, Eric. As we were talking earlier, I guess I didn't realize that Marla wasn't around for the original project plan, nor was Kirsten. So maybe a little bit of background about the Heritage Project. This is a mixed-use project that's been in front of our staff now for 3 or 4 years. That's coming to fruition. And a year and a half or so ago, this TIF project plan was presented to the Planning Commission and approved, as well as the City Council. And the developer started to make some moves on filing the original Heritage residential planned unit development, and then followed it with the Heritage mixed use planned unit development. And as they've started to develop this plan, they have modified some of the components of that plan. And Jerry Jones from the Heritage Group is here to explain the modifications that they are wanting to make to that project plan to achieve the goals of the comprehensive plan.
Well, Jerry, thank you for being with us this evening. We'll hand the ball to you to give us an explanation or presentation, if you would, please.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you all for time this evening and for holding a special meeting to keep this project on track. I am representing Heritage Square Andover LLC, who is the development team. And on that team are Mike Lease and Lance Deal, who have been involved from the get-go. They are the property owners. And Mike and Lance assembled this 110-acre property over the course of last 15 years. So they got it all started. Our other two partners are David Burke, who is the developer of Old Town in Wichita, and Dave Wells, who is the president of Key Construction. So I'm speaking on behalf of that whole team. We were also aided by the Polsinelli law firm, who actually put together our project plans. They're from Kansas City, so we gave them the night off, but I'm here to make the presentation. And if you don't mind, I'll share my screen, and I've got a PowerPoint here I'll walk through. Here we go. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Put it in full screen mode here. So I think already kind of went through the background. Just really quickly to orient you, this is Andover Road, Kellogg along the south edge, Douglas Street along the north edge of the Heritage Tax Increment Financing District, which is outlined in red. Again, that's about 110 acres. And you can see it's surrounded by a lot of important anchors for Andover, the Andover Central campus, the Central Park and City Hall, the library, the amphitheater, and on the south side of Kellogg Dillons and the Andover Y. So it's right in the middle of a lot of active uses. As Les said, the original project plan was approved about a year and a half ago, and we are really splitting that into two projects now, two TIF projects. Project Area 1 is shaded in gray, and this is basically the original project plan minus these three or I guess actually 5 tracks here closer to Kellogg. We're really not going to get into the numbers today. That's not the purview of the commission, but I thought it would be helpful. And I know you have all this information, but just to give you a magnitude of scale, Project Area 1 project budget is almost $79 million. Of that, $12.5 million is being funded by the TIF district. The rest is private investment. And of the $12.5 million, approximately $3.4 million is in phase 1 in our improvements that are underway right now. And just real briefly to explain what those are, what's underway now is Shea Boulevard from Douglas along the side of the residential, the first phase of this park system that's going in, and a segment of street here called Founders Parkway between Archer and a street we'll call Homestead, and then Archer Drive back to Kellogg. So that is phase 1. Phase 2 then will be the balance of the park system, including this linear park between the two residential neighborhoods, a more natural park with a detention area right in the middle of the project, and then a town square. And we'll talk about those in more detail. The finishing up Founders Parkway, the main east-west street, and then Heritage Way, which will be kind of the main street, if you will, for this area, extending Sunset Drive, and then Legacy Drive that'll connect those two. Project Area 2 are, again, these 5 parcels here, these gray areas, and this is the new part of the TIF project plan. And the reason for this, coming back with this, was to catalyze and jumpstart the development of this commercial area. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about how we intend to do that and how that all ties in with the comprehensive plan. Again, some numbers just to give you an idea. It's Project Area 2 is approximately a $68 million project. Of that, $13.5 million is TIF funded for parking facilities. You can kind of see here, this is the area, and we've got some plans that'll show this in greater detail, but this block right here is a vertical mixed use of ground floor commercial with a parking garage and apartments above. These two are pad sites for some type of restaurant or food service next to a town square. This is a hotel site, and this we refer to as a senior living site. So the main point that we need to talk about tonight is how the project plans are consistent with Andover's comprehensive plan. And again, I know that staff gave you a good synopsis of that, and I'll just expand on that a little bit. This area falls within the US 54-400 corridor study The comprehensive plan incorporated that study and features discussion about corridors in the city of Andover. And I've highlighted, I think this is really probably one of the key parts of the corridor study and the comprehensive plan as it relates to the heritage. The recommendations in the US 5400 corridor study provide an opportunity to achieve a number of aspirations, and they're listed below. Create a core of the city that is currently lacking, the absence of which could hinder future growth. And I've heard this over and over again from your city council, that there's a real desire in the community for to create that core, that focal point, and we've had several council people that refer to it as downtown Andover. Capture the high disposable incomes of residents, increased chance of Andover is acting for a draw for a wider catchment area, capture spending of daily commuters, diversify the tax base, and provide economic, social, and physical diversity. It also provides an opportunity to improve the image of Andover, promote walking and bicycling for daily activities, improve accessibility across US 54, and provide a counterweight to the city's current north-south orientation. So my presentation really is going to be talking about how the Heritage Project plans fulfill those opportunities and aspirations. I also highlighted this verbiage from your comprehensive plan that says the US 54-400 plan envisions the creation of more intense, sustainable mixed uses that form a lifestyle corridor. And the corridor study talks a lot about that lifestyle corridor, and we've really, I think, tailored our plan to meet those objectives. This is the land use plan that was included in your packet from the comprehensive plan from the corridor study. And this is the area here generally of the heritage where my cursor is. And this highlighted text says, in addition to being more diverse and intense than typically occurs elsewhere in Andover, the land uses are meant to foster more active, attractive, walkable, and vibrant street fronts. So again, I think when we look at some of the images from the heritage, you'll see how we intend to accomplish that. And this was finally, this was an image out of the comprehensive plan intended to illustrate what I just talked about with active, attractive, walkable, and vibrant streets. So I talked about this being two project areas, but to us as the developers, this is really all one project. And I'll just really quickly kind of talk you through the components of that. We talked a little bit about the residential areas which constitute the north half of this. These neighborhoods are being developed by Perfection Builders, who were a party to the original development agreement. They're developing two neighborhoods. The Courtyards on the east side is oriented towards empty nesters. These are zero lot line patio homes, no maintenance. They have a clubhouse, and you can see this neighborhood feeds into an open space that then feeds into this linear park, which divides from the Commons, which is on the west side of the park, bounded by Shady Boulevard, which is one of those TIF projects. And it is oriented onto some streets, but it's one of the interesting things about this, which also fulfills some of those goals from the corridor study and the comprehensive plan are again, walkable street fronts. And here's a slide that illustrates that. You can see those homes are being constructed right now. It's a little bit hard to understand the lay of the land, but it's essentially what you have is a residential street with sidewalks on both sides, homes that are up close to the street and the sidewalks. Most of them will have front porches, and these have alleys, and the parking is off of the in a garage off of those alleys. And so that is somewhat unique, at least to the Wichita metro area. And again, is another way that this plan fulfills, we think, the goals of the comprehensive plan. The commercial areas, the south half of the site, these are possible configurations for buildings within that area in the orange. And a couple things I want to point out here. Again, going back to the parks continue all the way through the project as is shown on your comprehensive plan and tie it all together. And there will be walking and biking paths that tie into a system that goes off-site and continues to the north along Yorktown Parkway and to the south along Yorktown Parkway across Kellogg. Another thing I want to point out is the configuration of the buildings to create those active street fronts. And our objective with most of this will be to have the buildings up next to the street, have some on-street parking, and larger parking fields behind the buildings. We'll still have some buildings that front onto Kellogg, but by and large, this will be an internally oriented commercial development. And again, creating that more intense mix of uses and that active, attractive, walkable street fronts. This image is looking north on Heritage Way. I mentioned that earlier as one of the TIF projects. And it's really the main street of what we're developing to be downtown Andover. And what I want to point out here is this main project, the initial project to jumpstart all of this, has ground floor commercial right up on the street. What you can't see is the parking garage because it is intentionally hidden behind the commercial. There is a two-level parking facility right in here, and then above that, 3 stories of apartments. This image is to illustrate those active street fronts. And one thing I want to point out is we're not developing a shopping center here. We're really developing a main street. And so you'll see restaurants and bakeries and shops of that type of thing. We'd like to see some sidewalk cafes. We anticipate there will be some retail, but there will probably also be some service retail and offices. And it will be a mix of all those. And just like, any main street you might see anywhere, you might go to the coffee shop for your breakfast, go open up your office, go to the barber at lunch, go see your insurance agent after lunch, and then go to eat at a restaurant in the evening. So it's really intended to be a mix of uses, and with the apartments above to be an active area, not during just the day, but also into the evening. This image is to illustrate the importance of open space in this project, being an important part of your comprehensive plan. This is a view from the hotel site across the pond, a water feature, to literally Heritage Square, which is again one of the TIF projects, flanked by a couple restaurants, and then you can see the vertical mixed use in the background. I also need to touch on another piece of the comprehensive plan, and that has to do with transportation and access. Again, Les brought this up. I think, in the materials that were provided in your packets. But what's key to understand here, this is Kellogg. This is a diagram from the corridor study. And the corridor study introduced this idea of backage roads. In this red dashed line, both running east-west, both on the north side and the south side of Kellogg, are the planned alignments for those frontage roads. And here's a cross section of that with the street. And again, you can see the buildings oriented onto that road. And lo and behold, this is that backage road as it passes through the heritage. And we call it Founders Parkway. But this will really be the spine for the commercial areas and mixed use areas, and is planned to connect, far beyond, running east and west beyond the bounds of the heritage project. And here's an image. This is actually Yorktown Parkway, but again, I put it in here to show how our intent is to orient buildings onto the street and then have the larger parking fields behind the buildings. And so I'll leave in my presentation with this image. This is a bird's eye rendering of the commercial part of the heritage. And then this is, again, that main catalyst project with the parking garage in it, the town square, and Heritage Way, the main street, and then Yorktown with some of the probably more conventional commercial development located over in this area. So with that, I will open it up to questions.
This is impressive. This is going to be fun. I had a question, and I don't know if it's as much for you as Les. And thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much for that. Are there, and you helped me a lot with the example you gave of you can eat breakfast here and then open your office and go see your insurance agent. Are there, and I don't know how I meant to ask it, certain types of businesses that are not allowed in this commercial area? I mean, I'm assuming like even light manufacturing is not going to be here and things like that. Sorry if it's a silly question. It was in my head.
It's certainly not silly, and I'm embarrassed to say I'm probably not the best person to answer it. The PUD for this project has been approved. It took or utilized a lot of the mixed use zoning categories from your new zoning code, and it's quite permissive, but Les, you might weigh in on that. I know a lot of those the types of uses you mentioned, some of the uses you mentioned, like manufacturing, and some of those are not allowed, but I don't remember. I remember more about what we can do than what we can't do. Can you help me out with that, Les?
Well, I think the intent of those uses in the planned unit development were to be those retail and service businesses that, like Jerry said, are a more walkable, connected series of businesses, not large standalone big boxes like big discount stores and big lumber yards or car dealerships.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Jerry, this is Gary Israel. In doing this, what do you see as the first building that's going to go up? Would it be that main building right there in the center section? Or would it be a hotel or a restaurant? Or
It's a good question. And this plan will definitely be market driven. So what I will say is we are working right now on plans for this apartment project and the garage and then the commercial that goes with it. But that's going to be it's a huge project and it's going to take a few years to get that completed. But we're working to get this under construction this summer. I would say in terms of getting businesses open, that may more likely occur over here at Yorktown and Kellogg, where we already have some interest from some more conventional commercial type uses. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see one or two businesses pop up over here on the east side of Yorktown before we can get this going. But I think once we get this up in vertical, then we hope to see some ancillary, restaurants. You mentioned the hotel, and again, senior living is those people that operate the senior living developments are got their hands full right now with COVID, but before COVID, that was a very active segment. So, that could come on soon as well.
It's probably too early in the game for this to ask this. I'm just curious. This has certainly probably generated a ton of excitement and a ton of buzz outside of just Andover. Have we started to see retail establishments or service establishments kind of raise their hand and reach out to us and say, wow, where do I try and get in line to be a part of this and look at putting a store there? Or am I too early in the game? Less, maybe. I don't know.
I'll take a first stab at that. It's from our project, and then I'll let Les talk about it more a broader perspective. But on our project, we have had inquiries, but my experience, and I developed Newmarket Square for the Slauson family in the early 2000s and all the way up to 2017, and the retailers are. They like to see activity. Activity begets activity. And
right.
So we do have some folks that are circling, but a term I hear all too often is still looks pretty green to me. So, I think until, we get through this planning process and certainly get into our construction drawings and get some things going like that. You don't have to worry about barring the doors. It's but there is a lot of interest, and we've got folks with their eyes on it. But get going on the construction.
Thank you. Thanks, Jerry.
Jerry stole my thunder there with activity begets activity. That's absolutely true in the commercial development world.
Yeah.
And then when you compound that with a potential freeway project in the next 10 years or so, there will be a lot of activity.
Right.
So that face of Andover will change dramatically.
Yeah. Another saying retail developers are fond of is that retail follows rooftops. And so certainly having those perfection home neighborhoods take shape is going to help a lot as well.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I've got a question for staff, if you don't mind. And just one comment to start that off. I've heard this time and time again that, Andover doesn't have a city center, and this seems like a very logical thing since we're growing north and south. If this were to take off, do you see it cannibalizing or businesses moving from other parts of Andover into this area to be in the popular area. Who is it? Les Sawyer has his insurance agency up there on Andover Road by 13th. Would he be somebody who might move down into this area because he would see more traffic? And then what happens to the other little strip mall buildings that we have dotted throughout Andover? And don't get me wrong, I think this is a great idea.
Gary, in my motorcycle world, we say there's a butt for every seat. That's true in the business world also. It takes a mix of structures and prices to cover all the different users. You know, there are those Class A only users, and then there are those Class C users, and they tend to migrate to whatever fits their business model.
Okay, thank you.
Gary, Marla, Kirsten, any more questions for Jerry or staff?
I don't have any.
Well, hearing no other questions, is there anything, Gary, Marla, or Kirsten, that needs to be discussed around the topic? And if so, please chime in. And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Did we hear from any, I don't know on this one because it says public comment. Did we hear anything public comment wise on this one?
Thank you, Marla. I had checked with Justin earlier today, so I probably took that for granted because I knew the answer. I'm sorry. Thank you for bringing that up. As of when I checked earlier today, Justin, there had been nobody sign up to speak. I assume that's still the case. And if, oh, pardon me. And if so, has there been any public comments received?
You were correct, Eric. We haven't received any public comments or any formal comments or anything like that. We did email briefly with a resident that was interested in basically what was on the agenda this evening, just for clarification's sake. But other than that, no formal request to join the meeting tonight.
Thank you, Justin. And Marla, thank you for reminding me of that. I appreciate that.
And to piggyback on that quickly, but it's Marla, as you mentioned in your guys' staff memo that you received, Les, had indicated that this is kind of the first step of this process, right? It is the project plans come to the Planning Commission to review for consistency with the intent of our adopted comprehensive plan. Pending your findings, what will happen next is the City Council will consider a resolution at a forthcoming meeting that actually sets a date, time, and location for a public hearing for these plans. So your guys' task, your purview tonight, is to make sure that what the developers are proposing fits within what our comprehensive plan says. And then the forum for that public meeting will be at the City Council. So we'll go through that process following this meeting as well.
Thank you, Lance, for clarification. I appreciate that. So I think we are waiting for a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I, Gary Israel, make a motion that we approve the amended and restated Project Area 1 project plan and the Project Area 2 project plan related to the Andover Redevelopment District 2019, and based on their consistency with the intent of the adopted comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Gary. Have a motion by Gary Israel. Do we have a second?
I, Marla Campbell, will second that motion.
Thank you, Marla. Motion by Gary, second by Marla. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Jerry, thank you for your time this evening for coming out, or
Thank
joining
you,
us, I should say. Thank you.
And Jerry, I wish you guys the best of luck on this. I think it's a great thing for the city of Andover.
I appreciate that, Gary.
Yeah.
A lot of work to do.
The drawings do nothing, I think, but get people even more excited about what this could look like. So this will be fun.
We're
Well,
excited to keep going.
It reminds me of areas in Dallas and out in Utah. Park City has a place like this that's very similar, and it's always fun to go there. You know, it just has a great diversity and lots of things to do.
Well, it'll be fun to work on. I'm sure we'll be back as the project takes shape.
We look forward to it. Thank you, Jerry.
You bet.
Well, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Well, I, Gary Israel, make a motion that we adjourn the Special Andover Planning Commission meeting for the 28th of January, 2021.
Motion by Gary. Do we have a second?
I,
Hi, Marla.
Kirsten Barnes, second.
Go ahead.
Beat you to it.
Motion by Gary. We'll give Kirsten credit for the second on that one. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The meeting's adjourned. Justin wins, and we blame it on Jerry. He was a little long-winded.